All right, and so we're going, and you guys are being filmed, just so you guys know. I do not own the legal rights to this song that I'm about to play, but it seems fitting because the last about 7 days we've had two birthdays between these two, who you guys will meet here in a second. All right. So, guys, Sports Allegiances podcast. I'm Charles Jernigan, and checking in for Stephen Garney, who's doing some family things right now. We have two new co-stars as well, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, guys.
I'll go first, or Aaron go first.
My name's Aaron. I live in Kansas City, but I'm a Denver native, so I'm a pretty big Denver sports fan. Avalanche, Broncos, Nuggets, anything Colorado really, but a big sports fan in general, so glad to be here.
I'm Alex, also living in Kansas, also from Denver, and big sports fan, but mainly Denver.
Right on. All right. So before we get going, guys, I know some of you out there, well, you guys never go over to MLS. Probably won't. But Siggy Schmidt did die yesterday, so prayers and thoughts go out to the Schmidt family, all-time winningest coach, the Bill Belichick, if you will, of MLS. Won cups in 2002, 2005, 2011, 2012, and 2014. This year he was coaching the LA Galaxy as well as last year, but he stepped down September 10th, 2018. So I feel like maybe he felt like something wasn't going on. We're not going to go into it. I just wanted to send our condolences to that family. All right. Without further ado, I'll let Aaron start us off here.
Yeah, so I wanted to go over some NHL news and highlights. We'll get things kicked off here since we are at the Christmas break. And at this point, you know, the teams in the hunt or in the running, I feel like it's not just a good start anymore. This is kind of how the league is going to progress for the rest of the year. So just a few tidbits here. Tampa Bay Lightning, first place in the league right now, 58 points. It seems like they're running away with it. That's a deep team. I think they're well coached. Steven Stamkos and Kucherov are practically unstoppable, and their goaltending is best in the league in my opinion. Toronto, since Austin Matthews has come back, they creeped back up into the number 2 spot, 52 points, second in the league. That's also pretty impressive. Without Austin Matthews, can they get it done? I don't know. It's interesting to see if he can stay healthy. Rounding out the top 5, Winnipeg in number 3, Washington in number 4, and Calgary in number 5, which is pretty surprising. So the standings as compared to last year are vastly different. There's a few teams hanging up the top that, you know, contenders last year, even more so maybe this year. But with that being said, kind of going into some playoff matchups that might be interesting, I wanted to make a note. 5 out of 7 Canadian teams would be in the playoffs if the playoffs started right now.
Wow.
Last time a Canadian team won the Cup was 1993, and which was the Montreal Canadiens with Patrick Waugh in net. So I thought that was pretty interesting. 5 out of 7 Canadian teams, one of which would be a matchup in the West. We'd get the Jets versus the Oilers in the first round. I think that'd be an awesome matchup, especially for the Canadian fan base. If the Oilers can get the playoffs locked down, I think McDavid can make some noise, maybe make a run. The Jets are always deep. They seem to always be there since their conception in 2011. Another interesting matchup, I think, Tampa Bay Lightning versus Montreal Canadiens. We got the Maple Leafs versus the Sabres. The Sabres probably one of, if not the most surprising team this year, with Jack Eichel and Jeff Skinner lighting the league up. I think he's second in the league right now in goals, which is really impressive. And the last matchup that I wanted to touch on was the Avalanche and the Predators, which was the matchup last year. That was, Nashville won that series in 6. I think Colorado could probably make a bigger push at it this year. I think Nashville's looking a little vulnerable right now. Colorado is as well, but with Colorado's first line, I think they could make some noise as well. with that being said, I wanted to touch on William Nylander and his contract and performance, I should say, since his contract was signed. As most of you know, he held out the first part of the season, waiting for a contract, a max contract of sorts. Signed it at the deadline, and since he's come back, he's played 8 games, has 2 assists, 0 goals, with a -1 rating. Now, if you ask me, that kind of performance, those numbers do not add up or deserve a max contract. He's a 60-point scorer on average in his career, which is nothing to shake your head at, but his performance so far raised the question in my mind, what are the expectations for these athletes that are holding out for max contracts, most notably Le'Veon Bell in the NFL, or just in general? And I think there's a lot to touch on, so I thought that was an interesting point. I'll turn that over to you, Charles.
Yeah, I think that in terms of, coming to the expectations, I think a lot of it that people don't understand, or even front offices for that matter don't understand, is a lot of it's like coaching scheme, players that they're playing with that no one hears about.
Mm-hmm.
There could be a third line wing that he's playing with right now that is the reason he was so good for 4 or 5 years, the past 4 or 5 years, why he's been so effective. And same thing with Le'Veon Bell. You lose him, oh man, the Steelers, well, they still got AB, they still got Juju, and they have Big Ben, obviously, but they're not going to be effective in the running game, so it's going to be kind of a one attack team. Oh, James Conner, here he comes, shooting his way into being one of the best running backs in the league. Now that backfires on him, unlike it did with So I don't really know. It's a tough spot because you look at the players like Earl Thomas, and he did try to play it out and stuff like that. KJ Wright, I don't know if you guys know, it's in the same boat. He's been hurt on and off all year. He's like, I'm going to play. I don't even care. I'll show up to training camp. I don't even care. I just want to play with my team, play for my coaches, play for my family. But then you have Earl Thomas happen, get hurt. Le'Veon's kind of like, hey, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm sure that's why he held out as well until the deadline. So I honestly don't really know. That's something maybe that would be a huge debate topic. Just a different day. Just because I don't really. It's so tough to say when you have 0 goals, 2 assists, and you have a max contract. I mean, come on. Like, what? If I'm the front office, I'm like, what more do you want from? I'm putting stipulations on it. Hey, right. I expect your first 15 games, you have 3 goals. I expect your first 15 games, you're having 9, 10, 12 assists. I expect you to have 4 or 5 steals. You know what I'm saying? We're paying you everything. Give us something. Now, because in this situation, they're not.
Sure. Do you give him the benefit of the doubt in the sense that maybe it's rust? Do you not accept that? Shaking the rust off because supposedly he's been overseas working on his game. What do you think can contribute?
You give me a max contract in the NHL, I will have more than 2 assists in 2 games, or I'll at least knock someone out.
Any sport.
That'd be pretty cool.
Any sport.
Yeah. I agree.
I think you're going for a max contract, you keep up with your ability. That's training every day. Play at a high level, even if you're not playing. You got to.
I think in my mind, a big part of it is you're away from these teammates. You're away from the facilities for so long that they have to implement someone else into your spot in the lineup, and maybe that person's building more chemistry. He's not a McDavid who can probably jump on any team and be successful, potentially goal leader throughout the season. I think Nylander's a role player, and you spend so much time away from your teammates and the coaches. They find a way to work without you. Toronto was a successful team without him. Obviously, they signed John Tavares in the offseason, huge free agent signing. Austin Matthews, top 3 talent in the league. But if Nylander spent so much time away expecting this max contract, I think maybe the Maple Leafs matured or evolved without him, and they might leave him behind. In all honesty, it'll be interesting to see if he improves his play. It also lends to the question, how effective is Le'Veon Bell going to be spending so much time away from the game? Because you cannot simulate NFL speed or contact until you get into a game scenario. Can he take hits? Does he still have the jump or his speed? I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think holding out in the league is it's becoming much more popular, but I don't know if it's becoming all that successful.
It's a hit or miss.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to what you just said with Le'Veon and everything, and you can't, like you said with Nylander, you can't match that type of competition. You're playing with the best players in the world. I'm sorry for you foreign fans who believe that your country's maybe a little bit better, but you're not in Canada, you're not in Russia, you're not in the United States. Good luck. Earl Thomas is an exception because you have those players that come around once in a while. That Earl wasn't even practicing with the team even when he was playing, and I thought that was ridiculous because before the exact fact that you just stated, it is not the same speed. You cannot match it. It doesn't matter. And then you have him throughout the first 5 games being the best rated safety in the NFL. How? I don't know. I don't understand it. But all these guys need to realize that, I understand you're playing for yourself and your family. But in all cases, you're playing a team sport. And as you said, Aaron, next man up mentality is a huge thing. And these people, this isn't a D2, D3 college to where you're losing your star running back, your star center, your star left wing, your star safety. It doesn't matter. And the guy behind him, he came from a tiny school in, talking. Shout out Wichita. And he's not going to get, what I'm saying is not going to get that braille brash attitude towards him. These guys look at him like, that's my brother. This guy needs to step in, and I'm going to do everything I can to help him step in, or her. Philip Lindsay, I'm very close with him.